Ichabod, do you like that thrifted Lululemon jacket that I got for $20? Is it comfy? Do you feel like you're saving the planet? Because you are.
Hey YouTube Void, what's going on? How was your week? Hi there, my name is Rachel. I am a part-time reseller that makes part-time pay, an artist, and somebody who is obsessed with sustainability, saving things from the landfill, and who is right now working with my Invisalign adjacent clear braces, trying to sound out some consonants. But I have decided to roll all of that into one lovely YouTube channel that is getting very little traction, but for the very few people, tens of people watching them, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Happy March. How's it going? Whew. Welcome to All Things Irish, which I am not representing with my outfit. All things green, all things leprechaun.
Hey, let's make Jerry's the leprechaun. Sing us the song of the Emerald Isle. Oh, 'tis like the singing of the angels themselves.
All things beer, and all things taxes.
Who's that?
It's the IRS! The IR what now?
So, my poor boyfriend, who I make watch all my videos before I post them. I'm so sorry. He has mentioned that my intro is way too long. I tend to ramble. Go figure, I'm an actor. I love to talk. So last week I did a 30-second introduction. I even timed myself. But then my boyfriend watched it and he's like, wait a minute, your intro to your 30-second intro was also way too long. So to kind of encapsulate what this channel is about, we are going to do our 30-second intro that I did from last week, starting now. Okay, here we go. An intro in 30 seconds or less. And go. Okay, I'm a part-time reseller, but I also believe in practicing what I preach, so 95% of the things that I wear are thrifted. I also believe in empathic capitalism, which means that not only do I make a profit, but I also want to be a part of the community, and I want to give back, and I want to provide an excellent service for people who are buying my stuff. In addition, I also show the realities of what reselling is, the gross profit versus the net profit, and the amount that the buyer pays and the amount that I actually take home when all is said and done, which is crazy less than what the buyer pays.
What was that?
It's called the medium sketch.
The medium sketch?
Yeah, it wasn't rare and it certainly wasn't well done.
Basically, I'm just trying to find my way through this whole, reselling artist, living a life that is definitely not what most people would consider normal, and seeing how I can not only give back, but make a profit, which all seems very impossible at the moment. Last week, I mentioned that my week of sales was pretty bad, and I had the numbers to prove it. This week was slightly better. We're also going to go over the entirety of what I made for February, and that is just for reselling. I actually make money as an artist. I have other streams of income. I'm also extremely lucky that I'm in a position that if my sales are horrible, I'm not going to be out on the street. So I still have a roof over my head no matter what happens. And so we are doing this little fun experiment and seeing what the real numbers are. I think it's been very good for me. So if there's an intention or a why behind why I'm doing this channel, a why behind the why, it would be that it's actually good for me, not only to in the editing phase and everything to be artistic and to have some fun, but also see the real numbers, because at least for me, there is a very human tendency to justify things or to maybe pretend things aren't what they are. You see the numbers coming in from the apps, the amount that the buyer pays, And especially with eBay, where you have to like purchase labels, it looks a lot more than it actually is. And it's very easy to justify and be like, oh my gosh, I'm doing great. But when everything gets scaled back piece by piece, it is eye-opening. And then you take out things like holding 30% for taxes, and you're like, why am I doing this? And for me, a lot of times that's like, not only do I want to make money, but I fell in love with reselling because I love saving things from the landfill. I love finding another purpose for something. I love the idea of finding something that is headed to the landfill and somebody's actually been looking for it and is going to love it and use it. And so here we are on video 5, maybe? Did I get to 5 videos? Yay me. Congratulations, Rachel. Anyways, so that's basically about it. We finally got the numbers in for the month of February, even though we're in the first week of March. So before we go through the first week of March's numbers, let's go over the totality of what happened in February. I didn't do a video for the first week of February, so I'm not going to go over the sales. It's not worth it. It was a month ago. People buy things at different times. People buy things for different reasons. Yeah, it's all gone. The money's been in my account. It's all good. Let's look at that week that I didn't go over, the first week of February. There were a total of 6 sales. So when I talked about last week being bad, the first week of February was actually the worst. Yay! Yeah, that's disheartening. Just to reiterate, because only 10 people watched the last video, I am doing for every week the pre-net. So the pre-net is the total amount that the buyer paid minus the platform fees, minus any shipping labels that I had to purchase, and minus any commissions that I pay out, anything that I sold on consignment. For that first week of February, just quickly taking out all of those, the pre-net was $81.28. So we're going to add that to the second week, which was $162.96 as a pre-net. The third week, which was $232.95. I remember that week. That was a good week for a part-time reseller. And then on that last week, we had a grand total of $114.52. Great. So that's the pre-net, which is $591.71. There were a total of 44 sales. $591.71. That is just with platform fees, shipping labels, and any commissions taken out. Other things that I have, the cost of goods was $38.04. The monthly store subscription was $22. Because there were 44 sales and 50 cents from every sale goes to the food bank, obviously this is easy math. This is the only easy math in this whole business thing is my donation was $22. The roll of labels were $20. So taking out all of that from $591.71, we have $489.67. That looks great for the month, actually. Like if you're looking at just a part-time job as somebody who's not having to pay their rent but with it, not horrible. But wait. We have that one thing that everybody hates. Taxes. Now I am an actor and not an accountant. So when it comes to taxes, here's the deal. I don't know anything. I just know things from my research and from having to do taxes. From my research, it says to hold 30% for taxes. And listen, opinions about taxes are like belly buttons. Everybody's got one, for the most part. I'm going to refrain from my commentary about it. However, if I would like to not ever put myself in a position where I could get in trouble with the US government, at least for taxes, I need to hold 30% of that amount, which is $146.90, which sucks. Like, that's just almost a third of your money. That's just like, hey, bye, that was great. Doesn't matter how hard you worked. Anyways, I wasn't supposed to comment on taxes. Anyways, after that's taken out, we get to our net, which is $342.77. Yikes. Now, the number that we did not go over was the number that the buyer paid on all of the 44 sales. Because let's look at the difference between what the buyer pays and what I'm taking home when all is said and done. When I totaled up the 44 sales, the amount that the buyer paid, and that it does not include the sales tax that was remitted to the states by the platforms, not any other fees or anything, just the amount that the buyer paid for the item, and if I charge shipping for anything on eBay, that amount as well. Just to get into the specifics, because I know that, you know, even though nobody's watching these videos, somebody could be like, what about this? What about that? What about this? And that's the problem with the details, because the devil is in the details, and it's like, it gets so complicated. That's probably why people have degrees in this stuff.
Oh, and how is education supposed to make me feel smarter? Besides, every time I learn something new, it pushes some old stuff out of my brain. Remember when I took that home winemaking course and I forgot how to drive?
That's because you were drunk.
And how?
The amount that the buyer paid for the item, if I charge shipping on eBay, just that amount, was $916.75. To which, if you think about that for a month for a part-time employee, that's great. But when we look at what my net profit is, which is $342.77, that is almost a third. That gives me a lot to take in when it comes to what I list, what prices I'm looking to list things at, and also my speed of things that are selling. Because one very, very prominent way to get more sales is to lower your costs, whether that's by paying for promoted listings on things like eBay, where they are going to charge more of a fee for putting it prominently on the search page, or if that's for lowering the cost overall, just doing that on, manually. The lower you charge for an item, I hate the word item. It seems so clinical, which it is, but I'm more of an emotional, sensitive kind of soul. And so when I say item, it feels so disembodied, so clinical. Anyway, when you lower the price of something by whichever means, it just means there is less coming into you when all is said and done. And so then it becomes about, do you want volume? Do you want something to be are you okay with things taking time and taking a minute to sell for the price that you want? And then we take the state of the freaking economy, which, the jobs numbers came out and they're not great. And there's a lot of stuff going on, which means the economy is kind of taking a little bit of a dive right now. And that means people have less money to spend for things. And that also then goes into, okay, what are you listing? And is it something that's, well, for me, as I mentioned last week, most of my stuff is not anything that anybody would need. It's not a necessity. It's more of something that they would want. So then how do I figure out what is worth putting up there and what somebody might want? Lots of really great questions. I think knowing the cold, hard facts of the case has changed how I've listed this last week. I've been more aware of what is worth listing for me. And with an entire death pile that is sitting right behind this screen, and trying to get through that, it's been very beneficial to me because I've had to make some tough decisions because sometimes it's, you know what, it's not worth listing. And so looking at the actual numbers provides me with a lot to think about and helps me to make more informed decisions for the next month, which is where we're at. Woohoo! We got to the first week of March.
Frosted Lucky Charms are magically delicious.
So I was hoping things would get a little bit better. They did. It's a teeny tiny bit better. It's hard to know, like, as I said, the economy, what's going on with the economy is a little scary right now, at least for me personally. And yeah, without like having a crystal ball into what people are actually like searching for right now, besides looking at trends on YouTube, it's hard to know for sure. But we did list stuff and we got some sales and we're starting off the week. So let's get to it. And hopefully by the end of March, which is 5 weeks, so it should be better just via the fact that there's an extra week, we'll have made some better decisions business-wise and listed some stuff maybe that is better or things sell more or, you know, suddenly everybody gets a windfall of $20,000 and wants to buy something on eBay. You never know. Things can happen. Anywho, let's get to the weekly sales for the first week of March. Sales are by the day that I bring them to the post office. So, on Monday, which were the sales from the weekend, we had 5 sales. We had 3 from eBay, 1 from Poshmark, and 1 from Mercari. We have a lot of 6 random plastic donkey figures. They sold for $7 with $5.50 shipping, and eBay released to me $10.44. Then we have a small Disney Minnie Mouse towel. That sold for $6 and $4 shipping. eBay released $8.25. Fun, very small sales, but I've had them for a while. Sorry, I laughed because insert like actual competent resellers just hate typing in the YouTube comments if they ever saw this, which fair. Anyways, at least these are going to a new home and are hopefully getting another life. I digress. Then we have a vintage 1965 Barbie plastic dress form. This was sold on consignment. It sold for $30 with $7 shipping, and eBay released $31.48. On Poshmark, we have this set of 3 1984 Los Angeles Olympics. The Olympics are coming back to LA soon. Anyways, these pins were for fencing, gymnastics, and the 5K, 10K. They sold for $12, and Poshmark released $9.05. Then on Mercari, we have a Disney Park Snow White Grumpy hat. It's like a little soft hat that says Grumpy on it. It was missing, it had a detachable beard, but that was missing. It sold for $8.50, and Mercari released $6.96. So yeah, pretty crappy dollar amounts for most of them, except for like one. What are you going to do? The total after fees were taken out was $66.18. But wait, we have 3 shipping labels that we have to account for, which were $5.78, $5.52, and $8.76. But wait, we still have $11.36, which was the commission that I had to pay out because the Barbie dress form was sold on consignment. So after all that was said and done, the pre-net for the day from 5 sales was $34.76. Yikes. On Tuesday, yet again, for some reason I believe this was the same last week, we had 0 sales. Which the only good news about that is that I didn't have to go to the post office. We saved gas. Anywho, on Wednesday we had 3 sales, 1 on eBay, 2 on Poshmark. On eBay, we have a vintage 1965 West Point Military Academy money clip. This was also sold on consignment. It sold for $20 and $5.50 shipping. It was it had quite a few scratches, which I disclosed, so it needed some cleaning. eBay released $21.65. On Poshmark, I had 2 very fragile items go out. And side note, thankfully they went through Poshmark as opposed to eBay. Why, you may ask? Because eBay makes me pay for my own label. And if something is over £1 and is going like further than, I don't know, down the street, it can end up costing an arm and a leg, especially with something that is fragile. A lot of times you want to like double box it. You want to make sure it gets there in one piece, especially for these 2 because they personally belonged to me or to my family. Poshmark has a label that they send you, which is for up to £5 and can go anywhere in the United States. And it's for $6.49, I believe. So for things that are fragile or heavy, I am extremely grateful when they sell through Poshmark. I do not think it is fair that Poshmark gets a deal with the US government's post office, like to be able to provide those kind of labels when I have to pay like quite a bit more for them. So when I list out on eBay, I have to take that into consideration when providing like the shipping cost when I list something. Anyhow, if anybody ever watches this and you like to purchase things online through like eBay or Poshmark or Mercari, a lot of sellers have the same listing up on different platforms. And if you are looking for something that is like a coat or shoes or something heavy or something fragile, Poshmark is the way to go to purchase, because you are going to end up, I think, probably spending less money, and then you're not taking the money out of the seller, you're taking the money out of the platform, which is getting lots of money in fees anyways. Things under £1, things like toys or small things, like definitely not going through Poshmark, go through like eBay, because the shipping label is going to be a lot less than that. But
1 hour later.
my 2 very fragile items from Poshmark. We have a vintage Cinderella Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo plate. This was mine. My grandmother collected plates, and she and my aunt used to give me these plates like when I was a kid. It sold for $17 and Poshmark released $13.60. And then we have a vintage Ireland porcelain leprechaun trinket dish, which was cool. This was from my mom, I believe. And it's very appropriate for March. It sold for $16 and Posh released $12.80. So after fees, we have $48.05. And then we had a $5.77 label and $7.94 that was taken out from commission, all for a grand pre-net total of $34.34. How does that happen? Thursday, again, we had 3 sales. Woohoo! So those 3 sales on Thursday, there were 2 on Posh and 1 on Mercari, so I didn't have to purchase a single shipping label, which was wonderful. We have on Poshmark 2, they were Monet stamped cream gold earrings. They sold for $10 and Poshmark released $7.05. And then we had a vintage handmade Mother Goose animal stitched quilt, which was really cool. And that sold for $17 and Poshmark released $13.60. On Mercari, we have this vintage Harley Davidson Hawaii cropped tank top, very Y2K, lots of interest, but like nobody would offer me more than $10 for it. And I was like, I'll hold out for $11.50. But Mercari released $9.83. So my pre-net for Thursday was $30.48. On Friday, we had 2 sales, and those were both through eBay. We have a box lunch Pokemon grass-fed shirt with all of the grass-fed Pokemons on there. Box lunch stuff is actually, like, when you go to the store, is like super expensive. So finding those secondhand especially on platforms like eBay and Poshmark and Mercari, I think is a great idea, especially if they're in great condition. This one actually went overseas. But I do the eBay global shipping program or whatever it's called now. So I don't have to worry about it. I just sent it to a place in Illinois. But it sold for $10 with $5 shipping. eBay released $12.69. Then we have this Liverpool Madonna skinny leggings. They were new. They were tags, though I found them in the bins. They sold for $20 with $7 shipping. And eBay released $22.97. So after fees, we have $35.66. Then we take out the 2 shipping labels, which cost $5.62 and $7.52, for a grand total of $22.52. So if we add up all of those days, our total pre-net for the week was, drum roll please, $122.10. Okay, so it was better than last week, and it was better than the first week of February. Onward and upward, people. Just same goals as last week. Put my head down, get rid of the death pile, because things that are sitting around and not listed are not going to sell 100%. And also, too, I literally listed 2 things this last weekend, which will be on next week's sales, that I have had in the bin not listed for at least a year. And they both sold that day. And they didn't sell for $10. They sold for I believe it was 35 and 25. So, you know what? Let's keep going with this. Also, to hold myself accountable, as I'd mentioned the last 2 weeks, I've had this wonderful dream to bring Costco pizzas to the people who work at the bins at one of the locations that I go to on one of the days where I have class and I've got to go to Los Angeles and traffic sucks. So I have to go down early. So I usually will hang out there, find some stuff to sell and then go to class. But those employees work so hard. They're always so nice. And I know, without knowing, I know they do not get paid what they're worth. And because I am a poor, broke biatch, I can't do much more than a couple of Costco pizzas. But I've had this idea for a year to do this. And I was oh, this is such a great idea. I did go and I spoke to the manager. And it was a whole experience. Man, I was embarrassed. I don't know what that is like. I was well, maybe this is a stupid idea. Maybe they're and the guy's well, usually people just want to come take stuff from us. And I was no, I just want to bring pizzas. And they're well, we don't know. We don't even know if that's okay. And it's okay. So it's I talked to 2 or 3 different people and got passed around. And I kind of gave up. And then I talked to the cashier when I was checking out. And she was just bring them. So I guess that's what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm not really going to videotape it. I'll take a picture of the pizzas, but I personally don't believe in videotaping other people without their permission. And honestly, as much as I'm putting this out there to the YouTube universe that nobody will watch, I don't want to make a huge spectacle about it. So I just want to do something nice. But we'll see what happens. So I will buy 5 Costco pizzas. Maybe I'll make some chocolate chip cookies because, as I mentioned, I make a mean chocolate chip cookie. And then we'll see what happens and I'll report back. And then I think the next week after that, I actually have my volunteering with the Second Harvest Food Bank. I'm going in person to volunteer. As I mentioned, it's very important for me to be a part of the community and to give back, to be more action oriented, because it's all fun and games for me to sit in front of this green dot right here and talk about being a good person or giving back or being exhausted because I feel everybody just wants to take something from me. And so what would it be if we all did a little bit of giving back, but it's easy for me to talk about it. It was much harder for me to go in person and like to talk to another human being who has an opinion about what I want to do and like be like, okay. But at least I know that a couple of people will get a couple of slices of pizza, and hopefully maybe they'll feel like they are valued a little bit. At least that's my hope. Sometimes like my ideas of giving back do not work. So like prime example, I have brought cookies to places. Like I brought cookies to the post office like I think a year and a half ago for Christmas, and like the guy who took the cookies looked like he was like, "What are you doing? Who are you? Are these laced with anything?" Like, anyways, we'll see. But that's it. Like, we are just holding ourselves accountable. And even if nobody ever watches these videos, it has been so much fun for me to like play around with stuff, to show you my cat and my boyfriend and the possibilities of what can happen when you just like try and care. It's not just about profit. Do I want to make money? Yes. Capitalism is great, but I want it to be about so much more. So right now it's failing spectacularly and there's documentation for it, but we're going to keep going and let's see what happens this year, and let's see if we can do better this next month, and what I have responsibility over and what I can change, and then what I do not have control over, economy, and let go of that. I keep doing like namaste because, you know, I feel like in the year of 2026, all of us just need like to take a deep breath. Anyways, that's it for this week. If you made it to the end, thank you so much. It is so appreciated. No need to smash that like button if you do not want to. It is your life. You work hard and you do you. And if you enjoyed it, great. If you think I'm full of it, great, fair. If you want to hate comment, fair, all good. Take care. Have a great week. Grab a beer if you want. Do a little Irish jig. Find that pot of gold. And I'll see you guys next week. Carpe Diem, y'all.